And welcome to Meet the Polymaker. I am your host, as always, Nighcore. We are finally back full force. Not that we were not live the last 2 weeks, but we're here. This is actually live today, April 25th, 7:05 p.m. Eastern Standard. Welcome in, everybody. Thanks for coming in. Today, we're going to do a couple things. We're going to do a quick Remurf recap. Not the whole episode. There's so many things to go over on that. But we'll kind of touch base on a couple of things more Polymaker centric. We're going to talk news, of course, upcoming product, showcase some community prints as always, and then of course finish off with our latest maker of the week. So let's just get right into the news. So first off, we got the Rocky Mountain Rep Rap Festival. For those that made it, they got to witness firsthand of how awesome it is and how large it's gotten in just the second year of being in production. But I want to talk more of our Polymaker booth. First off, got to put the thanks out to everybody involved. I'll leave some people out. And there's community members that have been involved outside, and then the direct team of project team of Sideline Review, Builder's Mark, Noah, and then of course at the booth itself, myself, James, Nick from Polymaker, shocker there. Sean from Polymaker also, Computer Medic, Bob from California. We had some community members that helped out with setup and teardown. Traxman, Trax mom, we got to meet, which absolute amazing lady. If she comes to another event, track down Traxman. He's pretty tall. He's easy to see. And then you'll see a shorter lady with him. That is his mother. Just great people, but an amazing team. This event went off. I'd like to say it went off without a hitch. Setup was smooth, teardown was smooth. The help we got from everybody was great. But of course, the booth itself had a couple different interaction things. I believe busier than what most of us anticipated. There was the Polymaker Scientist interaction, which has changed, each time that they've been out. This time, I think we're up to 401 scientists. This time, kind of a tablet controlled. You get 30 seconds. It's going to display the scientist, tell you what it is, and then I hear feedback here. Give me 1 second. There we go. But then they get 30 seconds to locate that scientist and scan them in the center. If they get it right, they want to spool a filament. If they get it wrong, then it just tells you, I'm sorry, you did not select the right scientist. People were lined up. It helped with the energy of Nick from Polymaker, of course. If you ever seen like those really what I want to say, eccentric circus games, and everybody, hey, over here, over here, over here. That's Nick's energy, and it didn't stop the entire event. So it was just a good time. We also had our Nerf blaster shooting gallery. Had 7 targets on each side. It was a 1v1 with all 3D printed Nerf blasters, which thanks to Lidl Dynamics for the model, and Vile Mods for printing those. Like I said, if I leave anybody out, I apologize. There was a lot of moving parts to this booth setup, and again, I appreciate everybody's effort put into it. We were surprised at the end of setup on Friday by Additive Adam with some custom targets of HueForge targets that were my face and James's face. We're good sports. We put them up. People shot our face all weekend. Everybody had a blast. We had a community table. I think we're going to look at making that even larger. People were amazed. Bob from California brought out his Millennium Falcon. Many hours, very large scale. I think he did it all in Ender 3, if I remember right. We had figurines from Chris Perillo that were old school, like Star Wars and I think Indiana Jones figurines. People loved. We had the basketball on display that unfortunately survived about 20 bounces before it cracked. Luckily, nobody actually brought their own basketball for the competition, so it worked in our favor. We won. There was also a guitar. It was printed by Computer Medic, all in nylon. That was at one point dropped and kind of separated from where it was glued at. Thankfully, the person that dropped it was the owner, Computer Medic. But other than that, like I said, it was a great event overall. Appreciate everybody's help, everybody's support. It was just a great event. Next on, we're going to talk about one of the companies that I talked to at the event. Never heard of before, Swiss 3DC. They make, or they're making, it's not yet available for pre-order. They're making a hot end that you got the Revo hot end, and of course it's an easy, nozzle twist out, unscrew it. easy to go. This is even easier. The nozzle itself is basically spring held clipped in by the silicone sock. It's got some metal inside of it, but the nozzle itself just comes right out. You can change the size, you can change the nozzle. It has a larger heat surface, um, and it is actually, it's a Switzerland-based startup company. There was two gentlemen there, very thick accents, but very polite guys. Talked to for a little bit, just got to know about the product. There's going to be variations of, so for your custom printers, for your Creality printers, for your bamboo printers, everything across the board. That pre-order is coming soon. Their website is swiss3dc.com. So if you want to look at the hot end, some information, they got some short snippets of information, but you can actually sign up for the pre-order there. So once they start production, you'll be notified. Talk to them for a little while there, and it looks like a really cool addition to the lineup that we already have across the board of aftermarket options. So again, nice talking to them guys and meeting them at Rocky Mountain Rep Rap. Next up, familiar topic, Bamboo Lab. There's always something Bamboo Lab to talk about. I may be obsessed with them. I love their printers, but we're going to talk about their support. So there was actually an article I read from STL Denise on Tom's Hardware, where I got this information from, where there was a fear that their firmware was going to be coming to an end of support. You know, within the next, I think, the year, 1 year, people were fearing that support was going to end because they have announced that they have completed their first initiation, first wave of their first gen family of printers. That's your X1, T1, and A1 series. They have come back. There's been an update. They're extending that actually 2 years more for support. That's for bug fixes, for feature updates, and an additional 2 weeks on top of that for security patches. So for those, of course, there's always that security fear. They're going to support that for basically another 4 more years. So they're extending out there. The one thing too is maybe kind of reading between the lines is they're at the end of the first gen family of printers. Are we going to see a new generation? Is it going to be an X2? Is it going to be a whole new name change? I'm not sure. At Rocky Mountain, I did try to pry some information from some key individuals that are in talks with Bamboo Lab. Nothing out there. I do not have anything to report other than there is something in the works. There's some things getting sent out for testing. I don't even know what that is, whether it be a big one, a different style printer, maybe a tool changer. I don't know. So you can speculate all you want. There's no information out there. Trust me, I tried. Next up, we're going to get into the big world of 3D printing. This is going to be the world's largest 3D printer. It's going to be the University of of Maine. They actually have beat their previous record, which was set in 2019 for largest polymer 3D printer. This one now is even larger. It's 4 times faster. They tout that it can print a small house, or they're saying basically a single story bungalow in 80 hours, which is insane. A typical construction of a single story bungalow could take up to a few months. Now you're looking at about 4 days. That's all out of one printer. Now the specs itself, could not find the nozzle size. I can imagine it's rather large. It's probably more in the inches than it is millimeters, as the bed itself is 96 foot long by 32 foot wide, 18 foot tall. So rather large. It actually can consume 500 pounds of material per hour. I think we all use a lot of filament. I don't think any of us use even remotely that much. So it'd be interesting to see that thing lay down. They are working on doing a lot more like recyclable material. So that way, whatever they do print, if it's a test or if it fails, they can reprocess it, reprint it, reuse that. So it's just a very awesome to where we're going at with the large format printers. This one, they dubbed the Factory of the Future, and that is the name of it. It's FOF 1.0. So we'll see what 2.0, 3.0 bring, or if they give another name to the next larger one. I would say they're going to probably outdo themselves. The way technology is going, yearly maybe, but we shall see. But with talking big, we're also going to talk now about wind turbines. They are looking at least in the U.S., with the Virginia Tech College of Engineering, doing the same. They're using recyclable material. That way, when these things fail, they can recycle them. But they're looking to do wind turbine blades, like actually on site. So they don't have it fully done right now. They're basically researching ways of, increasing the strength, increasing the durability, and the efficiency of them. But the goal is making it more green. Wind turbines right now are not very green, between the fossil fuels of transporting the parts and everything to location, the setup of everything. And then just the fact that most of the turbines out now are not recyclable. They're waste, so once they fail, it's wasted and takes up space in a landfill. So the idea here is, again, save the fossil fuels because they're just going to print it right there on site, and then recyclable. So when it does fail, they can just repurpose it and make another turbine out of it, or other various parts, just as they have across the board with electronics, rockets, housing. So the one stat I was interested in with the turbines is average wind turbine working for just 46 minutes can power an American household for 1 month. There's pros and cons to every energy option out there, but I just thought pretty cool of trying to make it a more green version of renewable resources. So that is it for our news. Let's go right into the print showcase. First off, we're going to look at a Cinderwing dragon. Of course, this is by Cinderwing. It is their axolotl wing dragon. I think this is a great print, not at all because it uses luminous rainbow, one of my favorite colors of Polymaker, but also uses pastel rainbow. So you got two rainbows mixed into one, as you see in the picture. You got a cool light effect and a cool unlit effect. This was actually printed by Computer Geek 845, and the model was, as most Cinderwing models, available on Patreon. Next up, we're going to look at Tubon 3D's Sunflower Lightbox. This is created by him, printed by him, not currently available for download. I'm not sure if it's just a personal project or maybe he'll put it out there eventually. The Lightbox itself, we have seen a lot of these. I think he's been doing them. I don't know if he took any inspiration from Pete Turtle 3D, which is our Lightbox ambassador. But if you've not caught it, he does a weekly presentation, sometimes bi-weekly, of how to create light boxes. I've created actually a couple myself based off of Pete's videos. He does record each one, so those are available on his YouTube, so you can watch them at any time in case you've missed the previous ones. But he is, like I said, he goes live on our Discord with the open stage presentations. You can ask questions. Super helpful guy and makes it pretty easy. Like I said, I've never done a light box. I don't do a whole lot of modeling, but he's done a lot of just quick, easy help. When I have a bind, it's amazing how he's just, hey, just do this, change this, and click this. Cool, done. But thank you to Tubon 3D for sharing this amazing light box. Next up is going to be Flora. This is going to be by Pipecox. It is printed in Polyterra Summer Gradient, one of our 4 seasoned gradient filaments. And this is going to be printed by Nick of Knickknacks 3D Prints. And this is available on my Mini Factory. So thank you for that share. And of course, gradients always great to look at. Next up, we're going to have another community member. Computer Medic has printed, he actually designed and printed garbage can that he printed on his Prusa XL. He loves that thing. If you talk to him, he'll try to sell you almost like he's commissioned to sell Prusa. So he's gotten on me quite a bit on buying one. But this is actually printed our production white matte filament. That comes in a only 3 kilogram spool. I think it might come in a larger one. I'm not sure. James, do you know? 3 kgs it. Okay, so yep. And great if you ever printed with PLA Draft. It's kind of like the white version of that, in my opinion. It's kind of the same development and process in the filament itself. So great trash can. When you have an XL, you can print huge things like this. But next up, we're going to look at this. I'm going to thank James for, because every episode he tries to throw in something that is really hard to pronounce. And I'm going to probably butcher this. Thanks, James. I hear you laughing. Jana Proudmore by Luftmensch Studio, printed in resin, and it's printed by the Dutch Glaswegian. Available on Cults 3D and Patreon. I think I did pretty good on that. So afterwards, I'm going to definitely attack James. I seen this while I was getting show notes, and yeah, I knew what he was trying to do. So good one on there. But either way, amazing print. The resin is always beautiful. The detail you can get is insane. I'll assume looking at this picture as it's painted as resin. There's not a multicolor resin yet. But thank you very much for sharing. And as always, don't forget to show off your prints and show off. You have your chance to be shown on the show. Either way, whether you're shown or not, we appreciate you sharing. There's always people in there getting inspiration. I myself do every week. So with that said, let's take a short commercial break where there may or may not be a teaser at the end. Keep your eyes peeled. And when we come back, we'll meet our next Polymaker.
Whoa, I'd love to get into 3D printing, but I live here on the sun where the UV rays are nuts. Wait just one moment there, strapping young chap. Have you ever heard of Polymaker ASA? Polymaker ASA is UV resistant, so it is the perfect application for printing near or around the sun.
No way, bro.
Yes way, brosif. Here, try it out.
Radical, man.
If you need a weather-resistant material, make sure you check out Polymaker's ASA.
Printing on the sun is no problem at all with Polymaker ASA.
Imagine owning some of the best songs about 3D printing this Discord has to offer. Polymaker presents 3D Printing Hits by Silverback and Little D, the best renditions of some of the greatest hits of all time. Hits like Hallelujah, Polly Smooth Criminal, All That She Wants Is Another Printer, Print Away,
There you go, print away.
Still the TD1, All About That Bag, No Stabbies, and Polyman.
It's a file tonight. We're all in the mood to see it extrude, 'cause you've got your printer tuned right.
Reserve your CD today with a special TV offer by going to polymaker.com and paying $39.99. Have your credit card ready. Seriously though, this music was a joke. Go buy some Polymaker.
Has this ever happened to you? Have you just been minding your own business and you drop your PLA print?
There's gotta be a better way.
Well, now there is. With our Polylite PLA Pro, you won't have to worry about dropping your PLA prints ever again. Just look how these tests held up to our drop test, the same one that we did with PLA. If you need even more impact resistance, make sure you check out our Polymax PLA. This hammer is no match for Polymax PLA.
Are you into cosplay and prop making? Are you tired of having to break out those power tools to sand those lines away? And don't forget about all that hand sanding. Cramps. Ouch. Introducing Polymaker's Cos PLA, available in two different versions, version A and version B. Both versions are still easier to sand than standard PLA. Find out more at us.polymaker.com.
And welcome back to Meet the Polymaker. Bright eyes, anybody catch that teaser right at the end there? Wonder what it may be. April 29th, we will see. Didn't even mean to rhyme that. Other than that, real quick before we get to the maker, I see, just so everybody knows, I am slowly getting used to reading the chat. Thank you for the birthday wishes. It's much appreciated. But this isn't about me. This is about this next guy we're going to talk to. I got the chance to meet at Rep Rap Festival, Rocky Mountain Rep Rap Festival this year. Got some cool projects, so let's get right to it. Let's bring on in the Nomad. And we'll wait, there's a delay. There we go. Welcome in, the Nomad.
Hello.
Thanks for coming to talk with us, to let us learn a little bit more about you and what you do. But let's start off with just tell us a little bit about yourself.
So, hi. For those of you who don't know, I am the Menace, the Nomad. I have been in 3D printing for about 3 years now. And my background is information technology, and I've been working in the Positron project for the past 2-ish years now, and we've been working on developing a foldable 3D printer designed for portability and travel that just so happens to print upside down.
It is quite cool. Well, we'll get a little bit more into detail about that project. Now, said you started about 3 years ago in 3D printing. What got you into 3D printing as a whole?
So ever since 3D printing kind of became popular with Prusa coming out and making their machines, I have always been fascinated by 3D printing as a whole. I remember when I was in high school, there was this Kickstarter for this one laser 3D printer that uses resin that you could have an infinite bed size or something based on your tub, and that got rug pulled. But I was so excited for the concept of 3D printing as a whole, and I never really pulled the trigger on getting the equipment or anything until just about 3 years ago when I said, you know what? It's Christmas time. I want to give myself a present, and I got myself a Ender 3 V2 and a CR30.
Oh, so you went to a standard printer and a belt printer all in the first go?
Yeah.
So how was that
really,
experience with the belt printer then? Because I know that was finicky at the time.
Yeah, it was certainly finicky. I wanted to get a belt printer because I wanted to. What really got me into 3D printing was actually cosplay, and I really wanted to start getting into that. And one of the things that I wanted to do at the time was something akin to a Witcher sword. So I was like, well, I don't really want to be bothered with gluing things together. So I was like, belt printer. I'll just print a sword. And that kind of just got me going. I never finished the sword. I have the scabbard and the hilt, and that is it. Sadly, I've gone through quite a history of those belt printers, and I don't have any anymore. But maybe one day I'll get back to that.
Yeah, you know, they're fine tuning them to an extent. I haven't seen a lot of support with them, but we'll see. So now, have you finished any of the cosplay items that you wanted, other than, of course, that sword?
I'm gonna say no.
A lot of started projects.
Yeah, well, a lot of started projects, a lot of non-finished ones. But what ended up happening is about a year into my 3D printing adventure, I started, or I want to say actually about 8 months into it, I started really enjoying the process of tinkering with printers. One of the printers I had at the time was the FL Sun Super Racer.
Okay,
and
yeah, the Delta.
E3D just came out with the Revo system, and I really wanted to get a Revo on my Super Racer, so I actually designed a mod kit for the Super Racer, so you could print out a new effector plate, you could use the same fans and everything, and just mount a Revo to the printer, and it worked. I actually sold a good handful of pre-printed parts for the kit, and I did that for a few months, but then I just stumbled upon this weird project of an upside down printer, and it was by Kralin, and I was like, wow, this is neat, and I want to learn more. And I'll get a little bit more into how I ended up as part of Positron. But yeah, I stumbled into Positron, and ever since then I've been working on the project. And
now, you said you designed some parts for the FL Sun. Did you have modeling background, or was that your reason for learning it, or did you already have some of that skill?
So I had some modeling background. I tinkered in my school years with my first program was SketchUp. So for Google SketchUp was my first modeling program, and then I moved into Blender for some stuff as well. But of course, when I started 3D printing, I'm like, hey, okay, I need to get this. I need to get this Fusion 360. I need to get parametric design. So I started early on with that. But I had some experience. I was in robotics in high school, so I was in a FRC team, 3151, and so I got a lot of experience with Autodesk AutoCAD during that time. So those all translated over to Fusion pretty easily.
Now, at that time with that robotics team, was there 3D printing implemented into it, or was it not so much involved at that time?
With our team, not so much. We had like one 3D printer in our school, and it wasn't the most reliable. I think it was a MakerBot, but it was more, other. The entire rest of the school was using it more than we were. So we stuck with metal fabrication, and we stuck with welding and stuff like that for our bot.
A little bit stronger reliability, at least at that point back then, before all the ease of use of materials come out. So
yeah.
Now, how many printers do you currently own, running or not running for that matter?
I at one point had 10. It was a classic
I've got the
conundrum.
bug too, trust me.
Yeah, it was the classic conundrum of I started out with just 2, and then something on one broke, and then I couldn't print it on the other one, or that one had a problem, so I had to buy another one to fix them, and then that had a problem too, and I never got around to fixing the other ones, and it just kind of snowballed. Now, let's see, I have FL Sun V400, which is currently dormant, haven't used it in a few months. I have a Bamboo A1. I also have a Bamboo X1C with 2 AMS systems. I have, of course, the Positron. I have a Voron 2.4 that's kind of my test bed for just random stuff. And I have a Flash Forge Artemis that I will never touch again.
Yeah. Now, of course, you said the FL Sun is collecting dust like some of the other ones, I'm sure. Is that due to the bamboos? That's usually everybody's wave of which way they go.
So I originally got the bamboo because I needed to print it out. I needed an enclosed printer to print out ASA and ABS for both my Voron and for the positron. So yeah, once I got that, I did slow down on my V400. But actually, the bigger reason why I stopped using it was because I tinkered with it a little bit, and I probably shouldn't have. I tried adding a CHT volcano nozzle to it since it has a knockoff volcano hot end.
Yeah.
And I just stopped in mid tinker, and I just have to one day retune it.
Dropped it there. Yeah. I think too many of us do that between whether it be a printer that we tinker with or a project we start. It starts. It always has good intentions, just maybe not a finishing act. So
yeah,
I know right where you're coming from. So with all that, obviously the most anticipated project you're working on is the positron. What exactly is the positron?
So the positron was originally, of course, designed by Kraylin, and Kraylin wanted a printer that was easily portable between the workshops of the university and his dormitory. And at the time, the most portable printer was like an Ender 3 Tube Mini, whatever it's called. And of course, that's not very elegant. You can't fold it away. You can't stuff it away. There was other foldable 3D printers that existed, but every time you deployed it, you'd have to re-square the gantry. You would have to do all this calibration. It would take you, I would say, about 30 minutes before you could actually use the printer, and that was a major turnoff. We just didn't want to have to deal with that. So Kraylin designed the Positron V1, 2, and 3 with by himself, as well as with his friend Danning. So they designed the printers as part of their engineering degree. And the story of how I got involved is right before he went to release the V3, he actually joined a Discord that I was a moderation team of. And that was actually the Ender 3 community Discord. This was a Discord that just the community of Ender owners created to help other community members troubleshoot their Enders. And I was pretty active in that server. But Kraylin came in, he said, hey, I'm looking for volunteers. Do any of you guys want to help us? He was asking specifically the mod team. And so me and a couple guys volunteered to help, and we went over to his server, saw what he was about to do, and started giving our advice. And then I realized something. I realized what he was doing was not necessarily just about to release a printer, but essentially start a small company. And he admitted that he had very little experience with that. Since I had a brief stint running my own little company when I was selling mod kits for the Super Racer, I decided, you know what? I'm going to help you. I have all this background knowledge when it comes to business management, especially from my IT background. And I just continued to help him. I became the business manager of the project, and we released the V3, and that started to snowball things dramatically. We had a bunch of companies reach out to us. We had a bunch of offers being made, and Kraylin got a wonderful lifetime job offer that I told him to take. Sadly, as a result of that, he had to sign a non-compete, non-disclosure agreement, which prevents him from directly working with us, but he's still a consultant. So we still talk to him to make sure that we're going down the path that we both want.
His original vision. Yeah.
Yep. And so he promoted me to the general manager, CEO, whatever you want to call it, of the project.
The many titles. Yeah.
Yeah. The man of many hats. And since then, I've been working on the project. We've been working extremely closely with LDO to get kits produced.
Good company to work with. Yep.
Yep. And we've also been working very closely with the Positron LT team, which is a community branch of the Positron V3 that is meant to really be a rep version of the Positron. And so we've been working closely with the community, we've been working closely with everybody, and we've just been improving the design, as the original V3, I will admit, was not good for mass production. It was a nice little one-off printer that had some amazing aspects to it. But when we started to produce kits and started to test them, we all quickly realized, wow, this is not an easy printer to work with. We have some work to do.
It became more of a project printer than a put together ease of use printer.
Yeah, and that's what brought us to what is the current version, the version 3.2, which is heavily modified from the original V3 with collaboration of the Positron LT team as well as LDO.
Now, that, of course, what's amazing in all these 3D printing communities is that help, the outreach. You can go and get that help. Now, when Kraylin first came into the server you were in, did you know who he was? Did you know anything about Positron, or was it kind of a, hey, here's a random guy talking about a printer he's working on, let's see what it is?
Yeah, so I knew about him. I had commented on some of his videos, and at the time, my Star Trek one was like, "Whoa, he likes my comment." Little did I know, in just a few months after commenting on his videos, I would be thrust into helping
Become
lead
part
the
of that
project.
team.
Yeah, it was certainly a roller coaster at the time, but it is a roller coaster of which I very much enjoyed.
That's awesome. Now, I know I kind of asked a little bit in the beginning, in our backstage. I remember seeing it. I've been to the last several RepRap festivals. I think 2022 Murph was my first one. Do you know when was the first time that was actually shown in person at RepRap?
So I've heard rumors that Positron was being shown off at other RepRap festivals before East Coast RepRap 2022. I cannot confirm nor deny those rumors, but I've heard whispers that it showed up before then. My first official RepRap festival was East Coast RepRap Festival 2022.
Okay.
Jason invited me out, and I went out there to help share the Positron. And we had a great time. That was my first proper introduction into the community of 3D printing. Because before then, I was just kind of, aside from that Ender 3 Discord, I was just kind of huddled in my little hobby hole here, just working on things on my own. And I kind of continued that pattern until I want to say just about a month ago, when I started reaching out to the larger community, and started just connecting with people and actually starting to make friends. And that's how I ended up at Rocky Mountain RepRap Festival. Justin, Breakcore 3D, sponsored me to fly out there after becoming fast friends with him. And yeah, I couldn't have done that without Justin, without Mitch 3D. Mitch 3D let me bunk with him, and I made some really awesome friends during this whole thing.
So did you have to make room in the hotel room for one of his printers that you had to sleep next to, or was there enough room?
No. We were lucky enough that he had two beds.
Big enough room. There you go. Now the Positron itself is, I know it's you're working on getting it to where you can sell as a full kit, other than of course the printed items. But it's been able, you could outsource it previously, correct?
Yes. So the V3 had a self-sourcing guide that sorry if you could hear the dogs.
No, you're
barking.
okay. It's real life. It's okay.
We had a self-sourcing guide for the V3, but one of the most difficult parts in regards to that kit to source was the synchromesh cables, which was the original kinematic system for the XY motion. Now, I'm not sure if you looked into it at all, or if you've heard my ramblings at the Rocky Mountain RepRap, but synchromesh cables are extremely difficult to get a hold of. They are made by one company. I don't know the company's name off the top of my head, but they're made by one company, and this specific spec of synchromesh is not often made. From what I've been told, I think it's only used in like hospital equipment. But
it probably has a high price then with that too, if you can find it.
Right. So we went ahead, and our community started reaching out to group source this item to put in these group orders. And from what I was told, people were getting calls back like, are you scamming us? Like we're getting.
Oh, there we go.
Of Synchromesh. It was just
So the
gone.
hospitals hated you for a short time. So
I don't know. Maybe. I hope not. I only recently found out that it was used for hospital equipment, like literally, I think a week ago. So I'm like, oh no.
Yeah. Like not our intention, I promise.
Yeah,
I
I was like,
bear with me just a moment here. Okay. I think we lost everything for a second there. So, James, are we back live? Okay, cool. I seen it disappear. We're good. Sorry for the hang up there. I lost my chat and everything. So, but yeah. So of course, unintentionally. Now you've changed that design, correct? Is that what you changed? I think that's what we talked about at Rocky Mountain.
Yes, we changed it to 3mm belts. Now, if you guys watch, or if any of the chat watches Kralen's original video on the Positron V3, you'll notice why, or one of the reasons he said that Synchromesh was the preferred method of kinematics. And the reason for that was that it could change planes really easily without causing too much of a fuss. So the reason we went down that route is because, well, the only belts we had access to at the time was like 6mm or larger. So they were pretty like thick belts in comparison to the size of the printer. So they didn't like having their axes changed as much as we were. So they would slowly slide off the belts as a result. But in working with LDO is able to work with their manufacturer for belts. And what I was told, belts for 3D printers are made in like this thick with the teeth going this way.
Okay.
So all LDO had to do was say, hey, can you cut us off a 3mm strip of
Change
this?
the position of the blade.
Manufacturer's like, sure, we can do that. And so as a result, we were able to get our hands on 3mm belt, which works perfectly. One of the downsides to Synchromesh was that it actually caused ringing on the parts because of all the vibrations in the cable. Now that we're using 3mm belts, those are essentially gone. And in addition to using what's the thing with the accelerometer? Oh shoot, I'm drawing a blank here. Resonance frequency stuff. Someone help me out.
Chat. What we got?
Chat, help.
Input shaping.
Everyone, input shaping. Thank you,
James.
Yes.
Oh,
yeah,
Silverback.
So
James got the answer from Silverback, so thanks.
We have an input shape. We have an accelerometer built into the tool head so that input shaping can be used to, of course, reduce the vibrations, since the tool head is actually very light in comparison to others.
Yeah, no, just a great product overall. Real quick, what we're going to do is we're going to move into community questions. James, I want to rely to you on this because I lost my chat. It's not refreshing, and I don't want to refresh my feed in case I lose it. So if anybody has any questions for the Nomad, go ahead and ask in chat real quick, and we'll see what he can and can't answer. And while we're waiting on the next question or any other questions, is there any other future products that or projects that you're working on or that you can talk about, or can you just even hint, yes, we're working on some stuff other than the Positron?
Yeah, no, Positron 3D is really taking a lot of homework. We stole a lot of homework from Moron. They also very graciously let us copy their own work. Yeah. So we are going to be working on larger printers, of course. That is the next step in the whole thing. But we're not going to be looking at that properly until a year or two after we release the Positron.
But you got a solid base. Now, is that going to be a plan on like for portability still, or is that always going to be kind of the goal, or is it just more of a redesign type of big printer that not necessarily foldable or portable?
So that is certainly an interesting question. Now, what I like to ask in return to that is, since you've seen the Positron, there's a few key aspects of it that would define it. One of them being it's upside down, one of them being it folds, one of them being that it is small and compact. And one of the questions I like to ask is, what makes a positron a positron? So that's the question that we're asking ourselves. when I am thinking of the next positron printer, we already, of course, have names kind of picked out because
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
positron,
Or just like
neutron,
we had poly in
proton.
front of everything, and just like
Yeah,
you're as we said Polymaker instead of Polymaker this week. So
yeah. We really wished we could have used Megatron as a like extra large printer, but that's
oh
apparently
yes,
already trademarked for 3D printing. So
yeah,
sadly,
yeah.
not
Go
not in our
figure.
cards right now. But we are thinking of a larger print bed, and right now at least, we're thinking of keeping it foldable of some sort, making it easy to deploy, portable, etc. But we're not exactly sure how we're going to tackle that. I think one thing we know is we're not going to go with a glass bed because, well, if you scale up the glass to be that
It's
big,
gonna be
it's
heavy.
way easier to shatter,
Oh yeah,
and we
yeah.
don't want to, risk people cutting themselves on broken glass. So we're definitely thinking of possibly moving to spring steel. That's almost certain in some regard, but we're still thinking about it. But that's a pipe dream at the moment. We
Oh
want to
yeah.
focus on the current positron before we start thinking about what
That makes
can.
sense. Yeah, you want a solid first project before you start throwing out and saturate the market.
Yeah.
So no, I completely understand. So looks like we do have a question from Laser Cow. Is there a release date?
So there is a release date per se. We are currently aiming for pre-sales beginning next week. We are aiming for May 1st, but it's kind of a range at the moment. So it's going to be at least within the first week of May. That's what
Okay.
we're aiming for.
There you go. And then next question by Polymaker 3D. I'll assume this will be Nick instead of James. It's always confusing. Was it made on purpose that it can fit in a spool box?
Yes, that was completely intentional. So during the original design process, the idea was, all right, we want to make a foldable 3D printer. Okay, that's actually fairly easy to do. Well, all right, how do we make that without having to re-square the gantry or something like that? Well, okay, we're going to put all kinematics in the base. And then we're thought, well, how do we want to port it around? Like, what do we want to put it in? And we thought, well, what does everyone have in 3D printing? Well, everyone has a filament box. Everyone buys
Yep.
filament. So we have like, the stack of filament box, and we're like, let's try and make it fit in one of those. So that's kind of what we decided on. Now, with a standard kinematic system where it's T-shaped, mounted to the bed or mounted to the base, we're like, well, hold on, we're not going to get too much of a build volume out of this because it's going to be small. And
Yep.
then we figured out, wait, what if we just turn the bed 45 degrees? Then we get a larger print volume. And so we did, and now we get a full 180 cubed build volume. The LDO kit's going to be max 170 on the Z height, just for, deviancies and whatnot.
Oh, yeah.
But roughly 180 cubed. We're very happy with having to face the challenge of getting this printer inside a filament box, and we are very happy to, even in the 3.2 version, still meet that goal.
Oh,
Though
yeah.
we noticed some filament boxes have gotten a little bit smaller, so that's made this a little bit
maybe
difficult.
we can talk to somebody at Polymaker to get a special box,
There
special
we go.
box, special filament, something. You already got a little bit of sponsorship there, so we'll see what we can, what strings we can pull. You hear that,
There you
Nick?
go.
Nick, if you're in chat. Yeah. Next question up is from Tech Jeeper. How many issues do you have with the upside down print surface and bed adhesion?
So, funnily enough, not too many. So, what's really strange that I see happen at rep festivals is it feels like people have kind of forgotten that we've done this before. And when I mean the community. Before PEI flex steel sheets were the popular option for printing, everyone used glass beds. And it's the same thing. It's just upside down. So people came up to the booth like, well, how does it stick? Well, it just does.
It's glass, yeah.
We don't use adhesives or anything. It just sticks. PLA sticks really well to glass with almost no problems whatsoever, unless you overheat the bed, then it starts to anneal and peel off. But it rarely ever needs adhesion. If you're going to print something heavier, we recommend some form of adhesive, be that a glue stick or a specialized polymer. But for the most part, it just works.
It just works, yeah. And
With
we talked about
PTG.
Remurf was just the fact you can see that first layer. And it's
Oh yeah.
always about that first layer and being able to see that something you've never been able to see before. They always got the metal bed because the heat bed and everything else. So to be able to see that is definitely a cool aspect of it.
And it's certainly almost a requirement for us, at least. So one, to be clear, I'm not afraid to point out potential little nuances with the machine, because we're such a small group that designed this. We can't test everything. In our testing at Rocky Mountain, we found that the IR sensor that we're using for bed leveling for Z height homing, it's not perfect. It has deviancy. So being able to see that first layer helps the user adjust that Z height to make sure the first layer goes properly, because there is that slight deviancy. We are working on solutions, but it may not be until future revisions that we can properly implement those solutions, because of course we have to test it, make sure everything works.
Make sure it works,
and we want to get feedback from the community on how best to fix this issue. So like one thing that we will put in a future revision is pins on the tool head, so people can add whatever they want in terms of a sensor, be that a clicky probe or a micro probe.
Awesome. Yep. So, and always be able to upgrade is always a nice thing. We got Laser Cow asking again, will the LDO positron use the BL touch? You can kind of touch base on that. So yeah.
Yeah, great question. So no, we are using an IR sensor. Now this IR sensor we have tested in, I'm going to say we've tested it heavily in well-lit environments. And it has been accurate enough for us to get consistent printing out of it in well-lit environments, with at least some adjustments, of course, having to be made every once in a while. But as mentioned, when we were testing at Rocky Mountain, one of the things that we did is we took the printer to the hotel lobby at night, and we would just be printing during what we called lobby con. And well, we noticed that the print bed, when it did Z homing, was further away than where it normally was when we did it at the show. And we started to realize, because there's less light, the reflection is stronger, and so it thinks it's reached the bed sooner than it actually has. So we're working on that. And one of those things that we're working on is, in a future revision, we're going to have an updated tool board that has those pins so you can add a BL touch or something like that. Because we know that the solution that we have right now is not perfect. We can't necessarily fix it prior to release, but we're going to make sure that there is a solution of some sort. And before Rocky Mountain, I was very worried about how that would be received. That, this isn't perfect. As there's been some, controversies about build quality of new printers. But what was really important was that during this RepRap Festival, my frame of mind was changed. Positron is not $1 million company. We're barely a company as it is. We are open source. Excuse me. We are open source, and I have to think back. Well, the first Voron that was released wasn't perfect. When Voron comes out with something new, there's always tweaking that needs to be done. So I had to take my brain away from this commonality of these large companies releasing printers with problems and be like, that's not us. We are small. Our testing team is like 8 people big, and we're not going to catch everything. But I'm excited to get this in the hands of the community and see what they make, what kind of leveling they figure out works. It's very exciting.
Oh yeah. And then last community question from Nick: how is the upside down affecting the overhang surfaces?
That is a wonderful question. So that's what's one of the most one of the question we got asked the most was, why upside down at Rocky Mountain? And my response to everyone who asked this, or at least not at first, but definitely towards the end, was that's the wrong question. So I say that because we ended up printing upside down as a result of the goal of folding the printer reliably. So what we're still figuring out with upside down printing is how everything changes. It's very interesting, to say the least, because there's so many different nuances to upside down printing that we don't even know all the benefits or the cons in regards to it, but it certainly is fun to figure out. It's certainly new. And one of those is support material. So I am a fan of tree supports, which our beta
I
team
think
has,
most of us are now.
yeah, our beta team has started calling them root systems on the positron since they're growing down.
Fair.
So all supports in normal slicers, which we don't use a custom slicer, we use Orca slicer with standard printer settings. We don't like do anything fancy.
I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel when it comes to slicers.
Yeah.
Yep.
So all these support materials are designed for holding the weight of the print up against gravity. So you're holding things up. But now it's completely reversed, where the support materials aren't holding it up, but they're holding
Trying to
it
prevent
up.
a sag. Yep.
Yeah. So what's really weird is that we're no longer fighting gravity when it comes to printing overhangs. We're actually fighting the extrusion force of the nozzle, which is a variable we can control. We may need some more advanced slicer algorithms, which our team doesn't have any real experience in when it comes to coding the slicer. But if the slicer is able to control the extrusion force of the printer as it does upside down overhangs, then we could see some absolutely amazing prints come out. Already out the gate, we're seeing bridge support be insane. We can get so much further printing bridges than with a normal right side up FDM printer, because we're not fighting gravity and we're not fighting the extrusion force. The extrusion force is actually acting as a support. As it prints, it pushes up and allows the bridge to go further. So there's all these new things we're learning and all these like interesting questions. I'm actually really excited to see what kind of research can be done on the positron and how it changes printing. I like to say that there's probably going to be a paper out at some point in time kind of really analyzing how all those factors change, and I cannot wait to read that.
And I think the more that it gets into the people's hands, the more out there, you're going to get the right people that have it, that do have that slicer knowledge, that coding knowledge, to be like, hey, this is where we're going to change some G code or change maybe how Orca slicer works. So yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see how those are handled. And like you said, just a whole nother aspect.
Absolutely.
Apologize, everyone. My voice is still here.
Now that we're getting, or we're starting to get the printer out to people, we're really excited. So one thing that we're doing is expanding the team. So we have a community support team that we want to get people onto to help us help people with their positrons. And I know as the positrons get out there more and more, we're going to be bringing more and more people onto that team, because we want to grow and we want to get more people to help volunteer the positron as a whole. And one thing I'm hoping to do with positron is whatever we get from the sale of these kits, I am going to be putting back mostly to the community, to positron. And one of the things that I'm hoping to do is for some of our team members, so I'm not the only one flying out and doing everything. If someone lives closer, okay, I can sponsor their hotel room, or I can pay for this booth there or here, and just start bolstering the community more and more. I really want to give back, similar to how Voron is. So that is our goal as Positron 3D. We want to give back to the community, give back to open source, and we want to challenge conventional 3D printing knowledge, I guess.
Oh, that's awesome. I mean, community helps build everything. I mean, that's Polymaker's built a great community for support. Obviously, you've learned that being part of a community that started to help and got involved more than you ever imagined. So it's definitely a great thing that we work with these people. So we're gonna move on real quick to.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
We're gonna move on to the rapid fire and run a little bit late here, but we'll make it quick here. Excuse me, I'm losing my voice here. Other than your own, what is your current favorite printer, whether it be a custom or assembled?
So that is definitely, I'm gonna have two answers to this. So my favorite to tinker with is gonna be my Voron 2.4, obviously outside of the positron, because that is just, I can take this thing apart and put it back together 100 times and it still prints.
There you go.
But my workhorse is my Bamboo. It just
the easy typical answer.
Yeah, I'm a little embarrassed to say it, but I've been using the positron more than it then.
There you go. What was that, James, real quick? Oh, Fatboy 1271, thank you for the raid. Welcome in people from his stream. Hope you had a good stream. We're getting right to the wrap up of the interview here. Be joined just quick enough that stay for the outro for a chance to win some filament. and learn the last bit of information here for the positron. We're going to finish off with a couple more rapid fire questions. Obviously, using many different filaments, what is your favorite?
Honestly, so for most of our prototyping, we actually used Polymaker's draft PLA, and that was what we ran with. For my personal printer, for my personal positron, I used your Galaxy Blue ASA, as well as, I forget the specific glow in the dark, but it's glow in the dark blue, and I'm going to be using that to make some very special limited edition printed parts for positron
Now,
users.
is that the natural color then glows blue, or the luminous blue?
It is the natural blue. It has the natural blue color that then glows blue. But
Okay,
for
so
the
yeah,
special
luminous.
kits that I'm going to be putting together, it's going to be the one that is white that glows blue or
Okay.
glows orange.
There you go. Oh yeah, there's going to be tons of options there, and plus, of course, as you said before, is you can print all your own parts anyway. So whether you want a limited edition, I'm a sucker for limited edition, so I'll probably be in that line. But let's see. Next up, what is the smallest thing that you have ever printed?
Ooh, that is a phenomenal question. So I think I have it somewhere around here. I don't actually. I'm looking now. But of recent, the smallest thing that I've printed is something that is actually now available on Printables, Maker World, etc. is Tiny Positron.
There you go.
So
Now, is that
if you guys
released
are
by you
excited-
guys on Positron 3D, or is it okay?
Yes.
So Positron 3D on printables.
Yep, or it's under Nomad's Galaxy on Printables.
Okay.
But if you just search Positron, you'll find it. And yeah, so if you're excited for your own Positron, you can own one a little bit earlier.
You can
Just
own
to be
one
careful
today
because the filament extrusion is not that great, and it gets clogged very easily.
Yeah. Okay, and last up, let's see here. What? Well, actually, two more. Favorite thing at Murmurf this year?
Ooh, favorite thing or Murph? Okay, that is really tricky because I didn't actually get out
Walk
from behind my
much.
booth too often. I think I'm gonna be torn between the Lamborghini. Lamborghini is really cool to see.
Agree. It was awesome.
Honestly, I'm just gonna shout out my fellow Philadelphians, Cocoa Press.
There you go. Yep. You got to support.
I was able to steal one of their cocoa cores and just munched on that. It was the end of the
There you
second day.
Kept you for the weekend. And then last but not least, how did you come up with the name The Nomad?
That's actually a great question. So I kind of became a digital nomad, moving between communities, moving between servers, and just kind of experimenting with my own thing. And I wanted to start a small business, and I named it Nomad's Galaxy. And as a result of naming it Nomad's Galaxy, I was like, well, okay, hold on. Maybe this is a good opportunity for me to rename my online persona. And I was like, all right, I'll be the Nomad. And that's kind of what I became, and I'm very happy with that.
There you go. Good meaning behind it. Now, before I let you go, is there any sites, Discords, socials you want to shout out? Where can we find you? Where can we learn more about the Positron? And possibly here soon, pre-order.
So the best place to keep up to date on Positron information, as well as just trollish memes, is at Positron3D on Twitter/X. For up-to-date information on release, obviously follow us there, but also check out our email list at positron3d.com. You can scroll to the bottom and subscribe to our newsletter, or join our Discord, and you can do that by discord.positron3d.com, or just click the Discord button on our website at the top.
There you go. Well, thank you very much for your time. I am looking forward to seeing the final product. I've seen the many iterations, kind of the different rep wraps. So again, thank you for coming to talk to us. Make sure you guys follow him. There's going to be some cool stuff coming out, I'm sure. The Positron is just a neat device. I've got a Polymaker box ready to hold one. So thank you.
Right.
And we'll let you go. Thanks for coming.
Thank you for having me. You all have a good night.
Thank you. So with that, that was definitely an awesome maker. Great project. Like I said, I got a chance to see it, and I think it's almost final iteration at Rocky Mountain. So coming soon. Right now, for those that are late to join in or forgot to in the beginning, type in "I am awesome" in chat. That is going to enter you for a chance to win a spool of Polymaker filament. So get that in now. You're only going to have a little bit here while we talk about our socials. if you like what you see, if you like what Polymaker does, if you love Polymaker filament and you're not already following us, we are across the board on socials on Polymaker and Polymaker_3D. So follow us there. We also have our Polymaker figurines. Every 2 days, a new model is released along with a video showing the multicolored version of it. This is all printed by Dstrbdmedic167. I think I got that pronounced right. Thanks to Creature Sprick. You can also find them as at Dstrbdmedic167 on Maker World. Those files are available to print as an STL. Also has 3MF of already pre-painted models if you're doing multicolor. Been working actually on a few myself. Some are 4 colors, some are 5 and 7 and 9. So they're out there if you don't have multi-white AMS. A lot of them offer a 4-color option. So that is really cool. That way it gives you a chance if you want to try to at least do some type of multicolor. But again, those are every 2 days. A new video is out on Instagram, TikTok, all the socials. And if you want that model, once that video is released, the model goes available for free to print yourself, again, at Dstrbdmedic167 on makerworld.com. We also have Pezliz does a in-printing color show every Wednesday. That's going to be at twitch.tv/Pezliz. Just one of those amazing people who was at the Rocky Mountain Rep Rap Festival, got a chance to meet her. Just fun to be around. Always has good energy, always has that same energy in stream. So make sure to catch her, watch her, learn about the new colors, and many new colors to come this year from Polymaker. Maybe in the next couple months, we'll see. But other than that, you've seen our commercials. We do have an option to submit your own commercial. We have a commercial channel in our Discord. The details there are the rules and everything. Do not post your video there. As per the rules, it's going to tell you to email it to meetthepolymaker@gmail.com. So we'll review that. If there's any tweaks or something's not done right, we'll always follow back with you. We want to display as many community commercials as we can. The more the merrier. There's some great ideas. The one that you see now with these songs was born in the Hangouts by 2 of the amazing community members. So appreciate all your guys' input. Always appreciate the support. We will be back next week with yet again a new maker that we will talk to and meet, get to know about what they might be working on. And that is going to be every Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern. I am Nighcore. Behind the scenes is James or Dstrbdmedic. Thank you guys for watching. We're going to raid into Digital Dragon, so hang tight. Show your support there that you show us. Oh, man. I almost had everything done. Almost down to a T. I've been off 2 weeks from this live thing, so let's do a drawing first. James, let's spin the wheel. So who's gonna win? I would read chat, but my chat's frozen, so I apologize. But you guys are awesome. You're all awesome. Let's see which awesome person. Oh, come on. That guy. Okay, mods, ban him. Get him out of here. Get him out. Let's respin. Zombie hedgehog. That guy. He's a character. I gotta meet him. Not meet him. I've met him many times, but another good guy with good energy. Just fun to be around. Skiazos. That is our winner tonight. Not Zombie Hedgehog. So you have won a spool of Polymaker filament. Information should be in the chat. If somebody can share that in there, you're gonna email out. Just tell them that you want to meet the Polymaker on 425. We'll get that voucher to you. Get you a spool of filament. If you haven't printed with it before, I can recommend about 100 different colors. Luminous Rainbow, one of my favorites. But awesome ones out there. Get what you like. But with that said, like I said, we're going to get set up to raid out to Digital Dragon. So show your support to him. Tell him hello from Meet the Polymaker. And just awesome guy. If you like custom anything or the know-hows and how-tos, smart guy. And a lovely wife I met at Rocky Mountain also. So please show your support. We'll catch you guys next week.